Hey, good evening, everyone. How's it going? All right. So it's been a full day, actually a little bit more now, since my show was completed. And just like in the title, I actually wanted to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about all of the preparation and the show itself. I know a couple people were pretty interested in hearing the story. So, what I'm going to do, let me tell you a little bit about what I'm doing here and what's directly in front of you. And then I did go ahead and record a little bit of the bits and pieces of the prep stuff before the show, about 2 days before the show. And so I'm going to let you listen to that while I start. But what I've got in front of me right now, one of the things that you'll hear me talk about again is that one of the commissions that I ended up with from the show was these friend signs. If you have seen my channel at all, one of the experiments that I ran was to do the friends sign, no commentary whatsoever, and really focus that as sort of an ASMR video. I took the sign along with me, not intending to sell it. I actually didn't think that, I mean, even though I liked it, even my husband was like, no, it's not going to sell. But I took it with me, and I had this very, very lovely lady, and they, her and the lady she was with came up, loved the friend sign that I did, and decided that one of them wanted it, and they kind of had a back and forth of who wanted that. And then they ended up ordering 5 more of them. So I've got a total of 6. One of which they already have in their hands, and 5 more that I'm going to be doing. So, all right, so I've got all of these laid out, and then here is the one that I'm going to be working on. They did ask me to go ahead and do them in the same multicolor that I did in the first one. So those colors are the Cherry Merlot, Cinder Rose. I've got the Ultra Blue Deep Sweet Mint, Blue Harbor, and the Mermaid Tail. And then at the end of all of that, then I'm going to come in with the Champagne Gold. Now, I'm not going to be anywhere near that right now. So the very first thing that I'm going to do here to get this prepped is I've got a cotton ball here with just some rubbing alcohol. And I'm going to take and rub this down pretty good. Okay, try not to get my fingerprints on it too much. Okay, once I've got this wiped down really well, trying to get all the good edges here and stuff. This takes all the residue off if there's any oils from my hands as I took it out of the package, or anything from manufacturing on it that would cause the paint. I mean, you can see it's kind of dirty, right? And I haven't touched it. I just literally rolled it out of the package and laid it down here on my bench. So yeah, there's stuff on it. And if I didn't clean this off, then the paint will spread. It'll look funny. Okay. So now that I've done that, let me get that thrown away. And then I am going to add all of those that I showed you into my palette. And then I have my glass medium here. I'm going to add a little bit of that glass medium to each of the wells of paint to make 100% sure that the paint actually does stick. Okay. So as I do that, I'm going to mute myself here. Like I said, I have got a pre-recorded audio that I'm going to be running for you. I'll be here. I'm going to be painting this one live, and I'm going to be talking about the preparations for the craft show. Once that's complete, I'll be right back here with you. So sit back, relax, enjoy. If you have any questions, like I said, I'm going to be here in chat. Ask away. I'll be happy to answer any of your questions. And again, this is going to be from day 1 to the show and after, all of the things that I learned after. So stay tuned. All right, thanks guys. And I'll catch you here in a minute. Hello and welcome to Sylvan Mist Designs. I've been painting as a hobby for several years now. I suppose it's coming up on 4 years now. And I've finally decided to do my very first craft show. Now, I knew that it was going to be a big thing, but there are a few things that came up that I was not expecting or that were a little bit more confusing or a little bit more cumbersome than I initially anticipated, even after doing a whole bunch of research. So that's what this video is for. If any of you out there are really wanting to get into the craft fair or craft show as a vendor, then I think you're really going to enjoy this. I want to take you through the process from day one to show. Okay, so like I said, I've been doing this for several years now. So what in the world made me finally do it? For me, it was all about pushing myself to see if it was really something that I could do. Last year, I had happened across an ad for a local show. And for some reason, it stuck like an earworm. Like the thought of putting something that I've made out in front of others with the intent to sell it and not just make this stuff as my hobby, I decided that was going to be my New Year's resolution, that I was going to do that same show this year. Even if I failed, I just kind of wanted to see if I could do it. Purposely making things with the intent of selling them, stepping out of my comfort zone, stopping and thinking about other people when I choose color palettes and designs. I really did want to get better because even after, at this point, 3 years, I wasn't really happy with everything that I was producing, and I wanted to get there, and I thought that this would be a fantastic way for me to do that. Now, although the show is pretty close to me, I only actually learned about it through social media from the city that I live in, because I have actually subscribed to the Parks and Rec Facebook page for my city. I initially did this because I wanted to stay in the loop for some cool stuff to do with my daughter, some classes at the rec center and things like that. So I completely stumbled on this by chance. I was definitely not looking for an opportunity. I was not looking to do a show, and that was the farthest thing from my mind until I stumbled upon it. So I make up my mind. It's my New Year's resolution, and I feel like I have a little bit of hesitation, but I really want to be 100% all in. I go on a hunt through the city's website. Right, I'm Googling and I'm on their Facebook page and I'm on the YouTube, and I'm finding nothing about how to enroll as a vendor, right? I actually at that point, I didn't even know if the show was actually going to happen this year or not. But I kept digging, and I actually found a woman's email address and some information from the prior year's show. I just shot her an email. Right? I had no idea if she was even still with the city, if this was still something that she was doing. And she probably thought that I was nuts, right? I mean, we're talking, this is like March. And I'm emailing her really, really early. And I'm just like, I need information. Can you please give me anything, or at least get me in touch with somebody that knows something? And I 100% expected this email to go off into Never Never Land, and I would never hear anything back. But actually I did. She actually is still part of the show organization. So that was fantastic. And she told me that that was perfectly fine. And she explained that everything is going to go through the city's website for the registration, and not to worry about it because the enrollment was going to be on August 1st. And just keep watching their webpage for more stuff, and she would probably have more links and more information posted on the website about a week or so prior to that August 1st enrollment date. So I went and stalked the page, right? Of course. I wanted to get the information as quickly as possible, right? I mean, I was such a nutcase about this and stalking the page that exactly 7 days before August 1st, I didn't see any information yet, and I was already ready typing an email to her saying like, hey, what's going on? When is this going to be updated? I reined it in, thank God, and the following day, we did go ahead and get some more information. Now, I'm kind of glad that I did that though, because this particular show has over 60, I think it was 65 vendors, and enrollment is first come, first serve. Okay, so I wanted to make like 1,000% sure that I was on the city's website and I was logged in like at 8 a.m. on August 1st, the very moment that registration opened. So this place is really close to me. But at this point, I had actually never visited this particular indoor location that it was being held at. But the registration opened date, clicked on it, and I was given a map. This is a map of 3 rooms, right? And you were able to pick a spot for your booth. Well, like I said, I was stalking the page, so I was there at 8 a.m. But already, by the time I had gotten into this part of the website, the best spots in the center of the main room were already gone, right? So I ended up in one of the other 2 side rooms, and I picked a corner booth. Now, a corner booth I don't think necessarily would really be the best option, but I picked it because according to the map, it appeared that it was directly across from the entry door to that room. And so I thought, well, if I can't get in the main room, at least I want to be seen immediately as you're going into the second room. So now I hope the map is pretty accurate, and that's really where the booth is going to be, and that's really where the door is. So I guess we'll see. I click on that. I go ahead and enter in all of my information. They want the name of your business. They want your name. They want your address. They want to make sure that you're, a member of the state. I paid my fee. I clicked done. Oh, God. Okay. I thought it's August 1st. This show isn't until the first weekend in November. And so, I've got some time. Let me relax a moment. As soon as I completed the registration, I got an email. The email gave some information as well as some of the other stuff, which I sort of was and sort of wasn't expecting. So they explained in the registration that if you did go ahead and pick a side room, that they were going to provide you with one 3x6 table and a chair. And the booth space was to be 6x8. So that worked out for me because at least that was one less thing that I had to worry about as a first-time vendor. I didn't have to go running around and getting a table and a chair. And being that the booth is only 6x8, having a 3x6 table and a chair, it basically fills the booth. So I'm not going to have to worry about getting any extra setup. In that email, additionally, I got a couple of attachments. One of the things that you do have to do is make sure that you are registered for special events sales tax. Sales tax does need to be collected at this particular event. Now, in addition to an application for the sales tax registration, they also gave us the sales tax return, which we need to file at the end of the year with taxes. On these documentations, it did give a breakdown of the city and the county's tax rates. Okay, so they did expect you to have this special events license before the event. They did not require you to have it at the time of registration, but you had to provide proof of it before the event. And then they also, as a very nice token, they also included a table of all of the tax rates. And they gave examples. For example, if your product is $10, here is the tax rate. This would be your total, right? So they did that something like, I think starting at like a $5 bracket up to like a $400 bracket, something like that. So that was fantastic. That's certainly going to help a lot. I was already taking that into account when I started working through some of my stock and thinking about pricing. And again, we're talking about, this is August, and my mind is already going 100 miles a minute, just trying to figure out pricing and if the prices that I had already had in mind were going to work. And I didn't want to get too caught up in taxes, and I did not want to do something like they do at a retail store where you walk up with a $10 product and they add the tax on after. No, I did not want to do that. I have already kind of pre-priced most of my items because up until this point, I actually had been selling a few things locally, via social media, friends, family, and through Ko-fi. So I sort of already had a price point for most things, and I really didn't need to do much adjustment to the prices, but I did, in my mind, raise a couple of them just a little bit, and I did want to make sure that they were round numbers. So $10, $15, $20, $30, whatever the case was, I just wanted to make it as simple for myself as I possibly could. Because I didn't have to do the special event license immediately, I did decide that I was going to put that off just for a little bit. I didn't want to overwhelm myself. I was already feeling like I was jumping in way over my head. I had way too much that I was thinking about already, and I didn't want to screw it up. And so that was one of the things that I decided to postpone for a little bit. So what happened then? Like I said, I've already been doing this for about 3 years. I do have a business name. My business is registered, as a sole proprietorship. That's not a problem. I don't have a tax ID number, and that's okay. I was told that's okay, and up to this point, as far as I know, that is great, and there's no problem with that because the application for the show doesn't require it. And they do specifically ask you, are you a sole proprietorship? Are you using your social security number, etc.? So that was, in my mind, completely done and over with. Last month, I guess that was around the 1st of September, something like that, is when I decided that I really needed to start getting my stuff together. I had put that in my mind as the date to really dig back in. And October 1st comes along and I start to fill out the sales tax application, and 2 things got me all in a tizzy. First one, like I said, at this point, I'm a sole proprietorship. My business name is registered as a DBA. I am using my social security number, and the form says you have to have an EIN. And I'm like, no, wait. No, I don't need a tax ID number. And I kept reading the paperwork, and I got a little unsure of myself. And I talked to my husband about it. And long story short, I just said, I think I'm going to need to do this. And my husband talked me down off a cliff as well, because I do sell things that are breakable, right? I sell glass, I sell ceramics. And my husband made a very good point and said, you're a sole proprietorship. What happens if somebody injures themselves on something that you've made? What if something catastrophic happens? I mean, the chances of that actually happening are very tiny, but he said, incorporate your business. And so I did. Not a big deal. Go to the state, get it incorporated, pay an additional fee. I'm an LLC. Now I'm like, crap, I need a tax ID. Or at least this form leads me to believe that they want me to have one, because I'm going to have to file taxes at the end of the year under my LLC. And I just don't want to screw this up. And so I'm going to the website now and applying for a tax ID. That takes 5 whole seconds. Again, not a big deal. I get that registered, come back to the form. I'm completing the form. And at the very bottom, I'm looking on the website. I'm looking at the form that I got from the show organizer, and it's a little bit different. And it says you need to mail the form and wait 6 weeks to get your license. And I panicked. I lost my ever-loving, okay? Because again, this is the first week of October. I have 4 weeks till show. And they're telling me that I can't get my license for 6 weeks. And again, I am panicking. I'm losing my shit. Because not only are they telling me that that's going to happen, I have only recently discovered that my driver's license is going to expire and I need to do a test. And I can't renew online. So in addition to everything else that is going on, I'm losing it again because I go to the website in a panic to the DMV and I make an online appointment because they just don't let you walk in anymore. So I make an appointment, which happens to be 2 weeks later in the middle of October. I'm like, oh boy, what the heck do I do now? Because I am literally going to be without a driver's license for 2 weeks. And my first thought was, let me go down the rabbit hole and see if there is any other way that I can expedite this, pay a fee, go somewhere, do something, and thank God I found it. On the website for the state, they did indicate that yes, you can actually walk in. You can go down to downtown and you can walk into their office and you can get your license same day. And I'm like, oh, hell yes. My license doesn't expire for like 2 more days. I'm going to book it down there. And I did. I literally took off work and flew my butt downtown and got the license. It was the same day. It was like $8, right? No big deal. And I kicked myself because I knew I should have done this sooner. And thank God they let me come into the office and get the license in person versus mailing and waiting 6 weeks. Okay, so I feel like another crisis has been averted. I have my license in hand. I am incorporated. I have a tax ID. I am fully registered for the show at this point. All right, so what else have we got going on? Since the show's idea popped into my head, I already had been working on getting some stock, right? Making pieces 100% with the intent of selling them at the show. It was, again, one of those things where I'm like, I like making useful things. This is absolutely not a dig on anybody else, but I personally have never enjoyed art stones. It just isn't a thing that I enjoy. Because I always feel like I want to make art that is functional, art or craft that is usable and is in front of you every day. And probably the least useful thing that I've made are my canvases. But I could justify canvas. But for whatever reason in my mind, I could just never justify art stones. And so I never dove into those. Until now, because I discovered that I should probably be making tea lights. And so I dug my heels in. I bought cement, I bought molds, and I went to town. All right, so I'm getting like 25 or 30 tea lights made. I am going through all of the boxes in my closets and everywhere else in the house that I've got stuff stored, looking through all the old stuff that I've made just to see what I thought was good enough to take with me to the show, buying a whole bunch of new stuff. Painting and painting and painting. I feel like every single night for like 2 months in a row, that's all I was doing, was spending hours just painting. I was recording, I was streaming, I was painting. If I wasn't recording or streaming, I was sitting with my family and sealing things, painting the bases of tea lights. I was really, really busy. And even up to this point, the day of the recording that I'm making this, I'm still making stuff. Because I do have a full-time job and I have a lot of other things just like we all do around home that need my attention as well. I'm a mom, I'm a wife. This spring and summer, we are building up a homestead and it's been absolutely crazy. So all of my nights, from the moment my daughter goes to bed at night, that's my time, right? I don't have a whole lot of it. But on the days when I wasn't exhausted from, working my 9 to 5 and being out in the yard and trying to homeschool help and do all the other stuff that all of us has to do, I would sit down and I would stream or record or paint or finish or whatever, prep for a couple of hours. And I felt like for a very long time, that was what I needed to do, and that was my top priority. Here we are again, October 1st. I've got all the registration and everything, all of that kind of administrative stuff now out of the way. A couple of days in, and I'm like, all right, next thing on my checklist, I need to make 100% sure that while I'm at the show, I can actually set up payment. I don't want to take checks. And even though cash, I do want to be the majority of what I do, I understand that I would be an absolute idiot if I didn't offer electronic payment and credit card payment. Now, like I said, I had already sold a few things here and there locally. So I had already been enrolled in things like PayPal and Venmo and Zelle, but I didn't have any means to accept credit cards. I do work through Ko-fi, and so Ko-fi did have a partnership or a deal with Stripe, which I've never really worked with, but I wanted to make it as easy as possible for myself, so I did go ahead and set everything up. I went back through and updated all of my information for all of those platforms. So I set up credit card payment receipt. I did not get a terminal just because this is my first show, and I just, at the moment, couldn't quite justify the expense, even though I know it's not that much. I just figured I've got plenty of options, right? So you could pay with cash, you could pay with Zelle, bank to bank. I could do PayPal, I could do Venmo, and then I could do Stripe, and I can just have the card information inputted manually, right? So I was sure that I had plenty enough options, so I've set all those up. That wasn't immediate. That took several days. Again, just because working a 9 to 5, you just don't have time to sit for a couple of hours and set everything up properly all at once. All right, administration prep is all done. Stock is probably at this point about 95% done. And I have to then figure out all of my booth setup. So I've already ordered a tablecloth. I knew now that I needed a table runner, something with my business logo on it, right? Now, if you're on my page, you see what my logo is, right? You see what my branding is right now. All of those colors. I use the deep burgundies, the black, the kind of buttermilk colors, right? And found a company to do the printing, and I started setting up my table runner, the customized one. And I realized that my branding looks awful on this stuff. It's far too complicated. It has a colored background. It looks awful. Oh boy, I had to go down another rabbit hole. And I spent an entire day redoing my logo. I'm not going to change any of my branding on any of my social media, but I did need something for the show. I completely redid it. I'll admit, I did it in a little bit of a rush, and it's probably not the best thing that I could have come up with, but it was something that still represented me. It represented the arts and crafts that I'm doing, and it still held my colors, right? It still is something that I'm proud of, that represents Sylvan Mist Designs. All right, got that done, got that paid for, got it shipped. I know I needed packaging. Now, for a very long time, I'm one of those people that collects stuff. I have a big box full of bubble wrap and tissue paper and little bags, right? So I have plenty of stuff to pack things in, the delicate glass and things like that. So that wasn't so much of a worry. But I did go ahead and buy some bags, some thank you bags, just to put things in. I bought some actual tissue paper because I knew that even though it wasn't necessary, you don't want somebody to buy something from you and have to stick it in their purse. Especially with some of these, you don't want it to get scratched. You don't want it to get damaged. I do some acrylic stuff. You just don't want to mess with that, right? So I got some extra tissue paper, made sure I had the bags. I'm starting to put together a list of the things that I want to take with me outside of the things that I'm already mentioning. I'm talking about kind of that to-go box, right? So with scissors and tape and pens or markers or whatever it was that I was going to need. Another thing on the list is going to be something like a receipt book or some kind of payment tracker, something, that I can make sure that I'm watching all of my sales on. As I'm going through all of this stuff, I'm watching videos on YouTube from other crafters and vendors that give you these lists of, oh, here's the top 12 things that you need to have with you. Nobody else had said this, but I found one gentleman say, go get yourself an apron. And I'm like, what? And I went and bought an apron. Because what are you going to do with your phone? What are you going to do with your pen? What are you going to do with cash that they give you? I did not want a cash box sitting somewhere because where in the heck am I going to put that? I only have a 6x8 booth. I have one table and one chair, and I really didn't want to kind of cart in a whole nother thing to put stuff on and then have the possibility of it getting swiped, right? I wanted everything very close to me, and that was the best thing that I have heard advice-wise. So I went and bought an apron, right? This is one of those aprons that you would see on the server in the restaurant, right? Just a little waist apron with very deep pockets and a nice tie. So now I've got all that. As far as any product displays, I have some things around home that I'm already going to be using. But I went ahead and bought some standing pegboards. I bought some risers, some wooden risers. All right, thanks so much. Okay, so I'll go ahead and finish that out because unfortunately, yeah, my recording dropped. But essentially I went ahead and I bought some risers and pegs and a whole bunch of other little odds and ends just to make sure I had something. Come to find out though too, I took almost a whole day off of work. Actually, it ended up being 2 whole days off of work near the end. And I laid out everything. I did a complete mock setup. And I realized, you know what? I still need something to lift up some of the things in the back. Not that I was going to be running out of room per se, but I really did need a couple more things. And so even very, very last minute, I was running out to the store to find little crates or whatever. And thank goodness, I actually not only found some, but I actually found some on sale. So I ended up with 2 different crate types. I got a small one and a nice long one. And I had, like I had mentioned, I had made myself a list of all the things that I thought I was going to need. And I think I pretty much got all of it on the list, right? So the last 2 nights, at least that was my plan. My last 2 nights, I actually wanted to go ahead and be just for preparation, just to make 100% sure that I was going to be really, really prepared. And, it never works out that way. It never really does. But I got prepared. I thought everything was in order. Let me see if there was anything else that I'm missing from that night. I had the previous 2 nights, oh God, let me tell you, things never happen as smoothly as you want them to. Just period, never, right? You just can't expect that to happen. One of the things that I ran into is I had taken 2 days off of work, so Thursday and Friday, like I said, just to get everything set up. And Thursday, I had a very, very quote unquote quick appointment for my vehicle. And that very quick appointment that should have taken an hour literally took me all day. I got up that day, started getting some stuff together, dropped the car off. Actually, I stayed there at the shop for about an hour and a half, went and got some lunch, came back, and they're like, oh, here's the problem. You need XYZ parts. We're going to have to order the parts. You got to come back later today, blah, blah, blah. I just sank money into my vehicle. That's basically all I did all of Thursday. So Friday, everything that I had planned to do on Thursday got pushed to Friday, including the additional shopping that I just talked about. Doing a last minute stock, laying out everything, marking all of my prices, setting up my signage. I flipped. Oh my gosh, I don't even know. Like I said, I have no idea how I even got it all done. It sort of amazed me, but I thought I had everything together. So now we are day of show. Friday night, I had already anticipated, well, let me go ahead and get everything in the car because I'm going to have to get up really, really early. The show starts at 9, but vendors are allowed in as early as 6 a.m. for setup. And I originally thought, let's go ahead and get in at 6. And I was like, well, if I'm going to get in at 6, I have to be up by at least 5 a.m. And let's at least make sure that I have, something sort of ready. And so I wanted to get everything packed in my vehicle. But I couldn't because actually it froze. We actually had, it was, 30 degrees? Something like that overnight. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to leave this stuff in the car overnight to freeze. So I decided I'm going to have to skip on that. So I'm like, what else can I possibly do? I packed all of my bags, left them by the door, set my alarm, and tried to sleep. Of course I didn't get any sleep. I mean, jeez, who gets any kind of sleep, when you're so worked up? So 5 o'clock comes, pop out of bed. I mean, my daughter had actually crawled into bed with me sometime. I don't know. I have no idea when. When I finally did fall asleep, I was out. I was as a rock. So honestly, I have no idea when she had actually climbed into bed with me at some point. Which sucked in a way because that meant that when my alarm went off at 5 a.m., I've got a 9-year-old up with me too. So I don't know if she had a nightmare. I don't know what the situation was. She just appeared in my bed. So she wakes up at 5 o'clock in the morning too. Oh my gosh. Trying to get breakfast, trying to get everything ready. And my husband, I wake him up at 5:30 and I'm like, come on, you got to get the heck out of bed. You're supposed to be helping me. It's 5:30. You said you wanted to be there by 6. And he talked me down again. And he's like, you do not need to be there that early. I did only have one table, more or less. I did buy 2, but I did only have basically one table. And so I thought, you know what, you're right. I don't have all that much that I have to worry about doing for setup. So let's go at 7. That'll take a little bit of pressure off. I'm trying to find a good place for this heart here. That'll take just a little bit of the pressure off. I might be able actually to have some kind of a breakfast. Let everybody get woken up, make sure I have everything. I went over my checklist again for like the 900th time, and I was absolutely convinced that I had everything. Great. The 3 of us load up into the car, right? I get there. And like I'd mentioned before, so they do want you to have your state license. They did want you to make sure that you had your, they wanted your business name, your business registration, and then your state tax information when you registered. But I had gotten 2 emails prior to the show as confirmation with all of the details. But those emails did not contain the fact that you needed to present your proof of your tax ID and sales tax license at the time of the show's registration. And now I should have thrown it in the car. I mean, I had thought about it, but I'm like, you know what? I got 2 emails. The emails don't say anything about this. So I didn't. So I get in, I pull up, jump out of the car, go grab a cart for all of the stuff. And I'm standing there checking in. And the lady's like, okay, I need your paperwork. I need your tax ID number. And I'm like, oh, crap. And I look at my husband and I'm like, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. Because that means that he's got to jump in the car, go back home and grab it for me. Thank God we only live mere blocks from this place, essentially. So he gratefully does, and I go on to set up. Now, I was explaining a little bit earlier that, so when we registered, we were given a map of the indoor show. And I could not get into the large main room, which is okay, which is perfectly fine. So I'm in one of the side rooms that you can go into off of a little hallway that's, it's not hidden or anything by any means. So you can go into the hallway, go into the second room, and like I said, I thought that I was in a straight corner booth, but I was across from the doorway. Well, I wasn't exactly across from the doorway, and I wasn't exactly in a corner, because the booth itself was, right in the corner, there was nothing there. This is a dance room, right? This is more or less kind of like a rec center. And it was a room for dance. It's like a dance studio. So you have all of the walls are, except for where the windows are, of course, it's all floor to ceiling mirrors. And the kind of corner that I'm in is right by the emergency exit. And so my back is against the wall with the windows. And my table is right next to the exit. So I couldn't put my table layout exactly the way I wanted it because they gave you a little line of tape. And I, being at the emergency exit, I had no ability to move beyond that to what would it have been, the west side. So I had to do a little bit of rearranging, and I just started setting up immediately. It was super quiet. Oh my goodness gracious. I had never, like I said, this is my first show, so I was a little bit paranoid as it was. And then I really wanted to go in and kind of, start to set up and kind of, I don't want to say introduce myself because that sounds goofy, but, I wanted to at least kind of say hi to other people and, not be the weirdo that's just dead quiet in the corner over here. But I started setting up. Everything was really, really quiet. And then I started to notice too that the setup against the wall, I was here. I had another booth that was right next to me, and then one on down the line. The corner was empty, and then I had another one. And I thought initially that might have been more or less it, but then they moved a couple more tables into the center, right? So it formed this square around the edge of the room, a very, very tiny pathway, right? So it was really, really directional for the clients that were coming in. So they would come in through the doors, and then you would either make a left or a right, and you would kind of just circle the room. Except people, of course, don't go that direction. We'll get to that. So I got set up. It did take me about 45 minutes. Actually, hang tight. I've got a photo. That I can show you here. All right. So this was my setup. Like I said, on the right-hand side, right behind you can see the little top right hand corner, you can see the caution. That's the emergency exit that I was talking about. So that was, and then just to the right of that door was the true corner of the room. So it more or less was where I wanted it to be. We had the windows right in the back, so I had beautiful light coming in. That was so, so nice to have the light coming in, kind of filtering through, especially that time in the morning. So I'd gotten everything all set up. Basically everything on the table was more or less as I wanted it, except, I don't know that you can really see that, but behind my main table in the back, there is a table that is just shy of about 4x4 that I purchased. That 4x4 table was with the intent just to make sure that I had a place to conduct sales, right? I had my paperwork there for commissions and, my e-payment stuff. I had printed out a sign for Venmo and all of those things. So my signs were back there. I had a couple of stray pieces, some duplicates, things like that, but nothing you can really even see, really, from this angle. But I got set up pretty quickly. And if you can see kind of on the bottom right-hand corner, this was about 2 minutes to open for the show. And on the bottom right-hand corner, right below my cherry canvas, my cherry blossom canvas, I actually had those fairy jars. Again, if anyone had been on my channel before, you might have seen me make them. But these were just little fairy jars that I had made. And I thought, again, this was one of those things that I thought they're really not going to sell, but I did take the time and effort to make them. I might as well go ahead and bring them with me. And actually, that was really a fantastic idea because as you can see, that whole shelf was full. No sooner had I laid them out is one of the other vendors from a different room, because she wasn't in the room that I was in. So she must have just already been set up and kind of walking around. And she came up and she's like, oh my gosh, these are so cute. What is your proposed use for them? What do you think people are going to use these for? And I explained to her, well, I've seen a lot of people do different things with them. Things like wish jars, where you basically can roll up a wish or a prayer or something like that. Tuck it into one of the jars and then keep it within your sight. Right? That is a very good way to keep it fresh in your memory. Keep it, right up in front. And the story goes that, that will help you have that wish granted. Talked to her about a little bit of things. And before I knew it, she purchased like half of them. And again, I literally just finished setup. I was still like scooting some things around and kind of messing with things at that point in time. And by the time the show opened, like I said, I took this photo like 2 minutes before the show started. Maybe even right at 9 when they opened, because I think I remember having a customer kind of floating around at that point. And I was trying to just take some photos. I actually wanted to record it. I did want to take a lot more photos than I did. But like I said, I was talking to this other vendor and I sold her this stuff and she was just kind of chit-chatting, which was perfectly fine. But I completely ran out of time. Right. So 9 o'clock opens. I get my first sale there. Like I said, I didn't even have, at the time of the photo, I didn't even have anything to put in that right-hand side of the little holder. It's actually a spice jar rack that I had purchased and I actually use almost daily for my paint on a day-to-day basis. But I kind of stole it and used it for those glasses because they fit so perfectly. And I was like, oh, shoot, I don't even have anything to fill this space with now, right? And those jars, I had all but 2 of them. I don't know why the blue ones didn't sell. But the orange ones and the dragonflies, and I had some rainbow butterflies, they sold out basically first. I had made 23, I think. 23 tea lights. I think I ended up taking 20 with me. 18, because there was 2 of them that I was not happy with. I took them with me, but I didn't display them. So I had those displayed. I put up what I could, kind of filtered some space. Those are the one things that my husband and I agreed, like, those are going to go like hotcakes, right? There's no way that stuff is going to hang around the booth. We were just convinced, like, they were going to sell out like hotcakes, and I was going to get commissions for them. That was that. That actually didn't happen, So what did I sell? Bookmarks. OMG, bookmarks. Everybody loved bookmarks. It was funny too, because right across from me, like I said, I'll tell you a little funny side story here as I'm going. So, like I said, right where my table was, if my table is here, we have just a little tiny aisle, and then another table here, and there would have been another one right behind him, right? So they kind of stacked everybody right in the middle. So directly across from me, I have an author, and he's selling his books. And one of the things that he decides to do, so I thought that was kind of nice. Hey, you got your bookmark for the book you just purchased, right? So that was kind of cool. Not like he said anything. Not like he's like, oh, hey, turn around, check out the bookmarks. No, just, kind of happenstance. One of the things that the guy did at the very beginning was he opened up a raffle, right? I think, because I couldn't pay that much attention, but I did overhear him, and I did see a sign that he was doing a free gift card, like a raffle for like a $20 gift card for Amazon or something, right? I think if somebody purchased from him, then they were entered into his little drawing, which was cool for 2 reasons. Not that I cared, but like I explained earlier, the very tiny aisles between the tables, it really was only meant for like 2 people to kind of just walk, right? And I think that the organizers had planned to have everybody just kind of come in one direction and sort of filter around the room, all going one direction. They didn't do that. And not only did they not do that, and it's such a small space, now for the first like 2.5 or 3 hours of the show, we have a crap ton of people that come in, right? I mean, it may not have been that many people, but let me tell you, it's not a super big venue. So it felt like a ton of people, and they were all in front of this author's booth, right? So they were making a purchase, they were talking to him, or they were entering this drawing. So they were sitting there filling out his little tickets and causing the worst traffic jam I have ever seen, right? Except it's kind of funny because while people were kind of milling around, they were standing in front of my booth. Haha. And one thing that, just like a car wreck, right? Somebody sees someone else standing in front of your booth. They want to see what's going on, right? Somebody's interested about something going on that table. I got to see too. So it was kind of funny because, as I'm sitting there or standing behind my booth, I'm looking out through the crowd, kind of looking over everything, and I'm seeing a lot of people trying to peek, kind of dipping in between other people, kind of goosenecking it, things like that. It's hilarious. So people are really trying to see what I'm doing. And like I said, the very first things that I sold were the bookmarks. Now, and actually these were my clear acrylic bookmarks. I painted a bunch of the metal ones like this, the galvanized metal, which I thought were gorgeous, and I got so many compliments on, but they didn't sell. Out of the 9 that I made, I got rid of 1. I sold 1. So that was kind of disappointing. I really thought that those were going to go. The tea lights, I had so many people compliment me on those too. They're like, oh my God, these are gorgeous. I did buy little electric tea lights, so I had a couple of them glowing. The tea lights flickered, and so yeah, that caught people's attention. They really liked them. Like I said, I got a lot of comments on them. However, every single person that picked them up, they're like, oh my God, this is heavy. I had several people ask me what I made it out of. So I don't know if that was really a deterrent. I talked to my husband about it a little bit, and he doesn't necessarily think that that would have deterred people. That just the weight of the tea light itself shouldn't have caused problems for anybody, and I don't think so either. They didn't say it in a way like, oh, it's heavy. Like, why would I want to buy this thing? They just kind of made these offhand comments like, oh, holy cow, they're huge, right? And so I kind of played it off like, yeah, but they're not going to get tipped over. They're sealed. They're 100% safe for a live flame. So if you've got a cat, for example, it's going to jump up on your table, it's not going to get knocked over, right? I kind of just went that route. About noon or so, I sold one tea light. So I went ahead and lowered the price, dropped it by $5, see if that would help. A little while later, I sold 4. I sold another 2 after that. So now I guess it had to have been 3 because I ended up coming home with, how many did I have? I came home with 12, but again, 2 of them I didn't display. So yeah, I really, really thought those were going to be big, but they weren't. The other thing that really, really was good for me was the little bugs, my ladybugs. Everybody like touched them, and all the kids, of course. Kids really just like that stuff. I mean, I knew that was going to happen. I had my little box, and I took a couple of them and I laid them out along the table, and of course they catch the kids' attention. And I sold a lot of them that way. My idea originally with them was to kind of have a few out like I did, and then I figured that it might be kind of fun for the kids to kind of dig in the box. Ooh, what's in there? What can I find? Which they kind of did. But I found it funny, though, how many adults really liked them. I had, I think, 2 people comment, oh, they're not magnetic. They don't have magnets on them. Oh, you should have put magnets on them. Yeah, 1,000%. They're right. I just flat ran out of time. I couldn't do everything. I still, as many bookmarks as I sold, I came home with 2. No, I came home with 3. I had a lady that purchased a bookmark and a ladybug for her little son. He was probably 6. And unfortunately, she just got caught up in trying to take care of the little guy, which I get, and didn't take the bag from me. She just left. So she paid me and she left. And I kept a hold of it for her, but she never came back. So I suppose, I've got that one. But yeah, as many bookmarks as I had sold, I really, really wish that I had had a chance to finish the ones that I still have. I still have, I don't know, probably 10 of the acrylic bookmarks from my original stock of what I bought that I just never got around to completing. That was what I was going to do Thursday. That was my day. Stupid car. I can't complain enough about that. None of my canvases sold. I don't know that I was really expecting them to, because it's kind of a small community thing. there was about, I think they quoted 65 vendors that were going to be at the show. So it's not like necessarily it was too small, but small things were the big hit at the show. So none of my canvases sold. I did take with me the vase. I really wanted to sell my vase, but I was getting so attached to it. I kind of would have cried a little bit. My milk bottle vases, actually they're in some of the same teal color. I got real attached to them. They're sitting on my desk for ages, just sitting there. So I put them out. I had zero intentions of actually selling it. I knew that it really wouldn't sell. But at the same time, I'm like, I want people to see what I'm capable of. I want people to see that there's big things, there's little things. I've got all kinds of stuff. And I think it did that. I had a couple people look at it and comment on it. The other thing that didn't sell that I thought was going to was my flower pots. It's a holiday show, so I kind of get it. I mean, it's not the time of year for that stuff. At the same time, I was a little bit bummed. Commissions wise, like I said, this was a cool commission. When they picked up my friend sign, it was hilarious because my husband is very opinionated when it comes to what he likes and what I've made that he likes. And one of the things that he said he absolutely hated was that friend sign, the other one that I made. He hated it. He thought it was gaudy and kitsch, and he didn't like it. And I'm like, that's fine. He doesn't have to like it. And I didn't really expect for it to sell. So I'm making 5 of these. Like I said, they took the one home. What else? My glass cases, my eyeglass cases, I did not have them out there for very much. The price that I put on those was $10. Customized, right? Those cases are Ralph Lauren. Painted. A lot of people picked them up. I had so many people pick them up. They're kind of they were right in the front anyways. I had so many people pick them up. And they're like, oh my God, these are great. This is awesome. And then they would just put them back down again. So nobody ever said anything about the price, which they usually don't. But I did not want to lower that price. I mean, $10. Those things, if you really wanted to customize it, that's not cheap. So I don't think that that was necessarily a price issue, but that bummed me out though a little bit because I really wanted that to do better. Let's see if I can get another. Okay. I'm really glad that I actually took business cards with me though. I had several people come up to me and say, oh, what is this stuff called? I've seen this on YouTube. Oh, I've seen some shorts. I've seen people make this. What is this stuff? I had a few ladies say, oh, they would really love to do this. I'm now retired and this would be a fantastic hobby for me, but my hand shakes, or I don't think I would have a steady enough hand. And I was able to talk to people and tell them, hey, come on over. I have classes available on YouTube. I have my beginner sessions. It's totally something you can do. I have a lot of my viewers are 55 and over. A lot of 55 and over. And you can definitely do this. And so I actually had quite a few people pick up cards. I have noticed some new subscribers come across. So I do think that was a really good idea. One thing I'd seen that I'm going to have to employ on my next, because yes, I'm going to do this again. I have to do this again. It was fun. One of the things that I noticed was a vendor. Well, she would have been on my left, kind of just across that corner. She was selling kits to make things. So not the actual product themselves, but the kit, how to make them. Very cool idea. And one of her pitches essentially was, hey, if you don't like instructions, if you don't like to read instructions, I have all these instructions. I have step-by-step videos online. And she actually had a tablet that was propped up on the table playing one of her videos. I thought, dang, I should have done that. I have so many videos, and I have quite a few of them making the tea lights that I was selling that are without commentary. And I apologize about that. I'm going to take a 2-second kind of away from that for a second, because I had a couple comments recently about the fact I had someone say that my videos recently were too long, and I think they were a little upset, like, dude, what are you doing? When I started doing all of my craft show stuff, I wanted to get things together as quickly as possible, and I didn't necessarily want to leave people hanging. I didn't want to leave my channel empty, and I was making a bunch of tea lights, right? I think I don't know how many I made. I'm just going to say like 25, something like that. And I didn't want to make all of those in different designs and different shapes and different patterns, and then feel like I had quote unquote wasted the content and not put it out there for anybody to see. And the reality of it was, getting ready for the show, I knew for a fact that I really wanted to spend a lot of my time simply working on getting stock ready and taking care of the other stuff going on in real life. And I wasn't going to be able to spend a bunch of time working on new videos, coming up with tutorials, working out new patterns, or any of that. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to put these up. So yeah, my apologies. What I actually did is I did as many of the tea lights as I could in the amount of time that I was allotted. Just like now, I'm working late at night after my daughter's gone to bed, after everything is calmed down. This is when I work. This is the time that I get, and I only get about an hour and a half or so. That's usually all I ever paint. Is about an hour and a half. And so that's what I did. I did as much painting as I could. I recorded it, and then I basically made sure that I had my intro and just posted the creation. And I guess some people didn't necessarily like that, and that's perfectly fine. I don't expect everybody to. But that was my explanation as to why there for about a month, that's practically all I did. Let me take a look here. I need to get maybe some of the cherry merlot in here. But overall, with the show itself, it was fun. I learned a lot. One of the stupid things that somehow I forgot on my little checklist was to bring cash. Can you believe it? I needed actual change, and the show opened, and my first customers were electronic payments, so I didn't have to worry about it. But I literally texted my husband. I'm like, oh, crap. And so he came to the rescue. So he brought me cash for change. So that was one of the very first things that I decided to put on my checklist for next time. Bright and bold on the top. Cash. C-A-S-H. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, bold. So it's there. I'm never going to make that mistake again. Never going to forget that again. All right. What else did I learn? Let's see. PayPal is not popular. For whatever reason, I did not get really anybody paying on PayPal. Like I said, the small items for this particular fair worked really well. So one of the things that I'm going to be doing is looking more at creating some new designs and some new patterns, and looking for new materials that I can dot on. I think I'm also going to incorporate more of this loose art that I'm doing here. Since this one was pretty popular, you know, can try my luck on a few small things. That also does give me, I don't want to say necessarily freedom, but it does give me a little bit more freedom to not worry so much about doing dollar store items, because there is a lot of time and effort that goes into making these, no matter how much they cost. You're watching me now make this, and even though I'm talking and I'm slow and my progress is slower than normal, it's still, it takes a lot of time, a lot of patience to make this stuff. And no matter if it was originally 25 cents or $600 to obtain whatever it was, you're going to be paying for my time and my creativity and my art, right? My craft, not whatever I paid for the surface. Yeah. So that gives me a little bit more freedom, I think, to work on stuff from the dollar store, which I think is really accessible. I think a lot of people seem to like that. People can relate to it being cheaper and something that they might be able to do. People really seem to like the color blues. One of the very first tea lights that sold, and people continued to ask about, was the blue and silver. I had the blue, white, and silver. I did actually create 2 of those, and I'm really glad I did, because both of those are gone. So I am, I don't have any more casting powder or the cementol mix for my tea lights. It's gone. I do have 3 tea lights that still need to be made. There are 2 of them are black and 1 of them I haven't painted the base of yet. So one of the things that I wanted to do was to make more bugs and add magnets to them. So that's on my list. I thought dollar store actually carried magnets, but when I went there to get the some of the signage today, couldn't find them. Didn't see them for the life of me. So I don't know. I might check their website just to see if it's a thing that they sell separately, because most you can kind of tell. The next thing that I'm going to be working on too is sets. I'm going to start to make sets. I'm going to make my set, ideally, is going to be a tea light, a bookmark, and a coffee cup, and potentially a coaster or a notebook. And those sets, I don't know exactly how I want to do that, in what combination. I'll figure that out later. But I do want to do sets. I think that would be really nice, especially for the holiday craft fair. Everybody's looking for gifts, right? Everybody's looking for unique gifts. So that would be an easy, unique gift. And the only other thing that I really wanted to do next time was that I found that the list that I started to create, to keep track was just too difficult. I didn't have time to write stuff down, so I'm going to fix that next time. And that, I think, is it. I did a lot better than I kind of thought I would. I did basically break even if I want to take into consideration all of the stuff that I actually bought. But then again, a huge majority of this stuff that I purchased, I'm going to be using for more than one show. So, all right, but I think that's about it, guys. I'm going to continue working on this tomorrow. My paint here, I'm just going to grab, I don't even know if I have one right offhand. I'm just going to grab a gallon size Ziploc bag. Let's see here. And I'm going to put that paint in it, just so that I don't have to discard it and that I can come back to it. And then I'm going to pick this up again tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to be recording all of my sessions, especially now that I did at least want to talk about the craft show, and I've kind of got that all out of the way. If anyone has any questions about anything, or if there was anything I kind of missed, drop a comment. And like I said, if I do decide to stream as I work on these, because like I said, I've got 5 of them to do, might as well come hang out with me. If you have any questions, I'll address those during that. I mean, if you guys have any questions related to the art or not, or whatever, to the show, drop a comment. I'll get to them. All right. But I'm going to leave it here for the night. I certainly appreciate anybody that stopped by. As usual, if you've made it this far, make sure you're subscribed. Drop a like if you like the content. And I'll see you guys around next time. Take care. Have a good one. Good night.